in earthen vessels. Look at that. So there is a treasury, whether you have left yourself a will or not. God has an accounting of what you received from him down in the depth of your heart. We have this treasure in earthen vessels. And the depositor is the creator of the world. And your body was made to hold the things of God. So I was just thinking also about, say, when we do go home to be with the Lord, have you deposited or left as a resource or are leaving behind a treasure chest of wisdom? Like, for example, I know that all of us in some ways love wisdom statements, and we just generally love wisdom. And the book of Proverbs is the book of wisdom in the Old Testament, James, the book of wisdom in the New Testament. But I'm not talking about you. What has captured your heart as a statement or statements that you say, every time I think about this statement or every time I read it, I'm still touched and amazed? Well, let me ask you this. Do you have a notebook? Now, I'm not talking about journaling. I'm not talking about, discovering or documenting what you're going through. I'm talking about statements that God has shown you that captures your heart, your insight, that could propel your future. Have you written them down as a separate document anywhere? I would say that would be something worth passing down. A treasure chest of wisdom. Now you are it. You are the treasure of God is on the inside of you, okay? And then he personalizes it, and I quoted it last week, Christ in you, I can say it this way, the world's hope. Christ in you, the hope of glory. Colossians 1:27. So let me just ask you to think back about it again. Some of you can type. You're really very good at typing. You're fast at it. Some of you are fast with the phone and making notes. I would say, why don't you from this week just what do you call it? Humor me. Write down for a solid week all the treasury statements that you know or that has been said to you. I mean, it doesn't matter who said them. True wisdom comes from God. So, but what captures you? Sometimes several statements don't capture everybody the same. But let's say if you're going to pass something down to your children, like, for example, the Bible says that through wisdom, God created everything. We read the Proverbs about probably almost every month, the book of Proverbs. If not, that would be something good to begin doing, is along with your read through in the Bible, read through, how about making a journey to do a daily reading of a chapter a day of Proverbs? If you did that, you would do it 12 times a year. What would happen to your life if you actually did read the book of Proverbs, a chapter every day? I'm talking about, and do a selah with it, right? Meaning meditate, underline, digest. Yeah. See what God would give you that would be a major deposit. Now that would be something like, I remember that my wife and I kept in a certain bank certain things we valued, and we had a a deposit box that we put in the bank of those things that were valuable. When I think about them, because I looked at it after she went home, and I looked at it, and it wasn't really that much. I'm not talking about money now. I'm just talking about what we thought were valuable at one time didn't seem to be valuable all the time. If your insight came from God, it's valuable in this world and the next. It's not only a keepsake, it's what you become. See, because that wisdom that God gives you is to live by, not just to remember. That's the point of it. God shows you his wisdom so you know how to live at the highest level. Wisdom declares that she was there or he was there from the creation of the world. So if God had wisdom to create the world, wouldn't you and I need wisdom to live in it? All right. So anyway, I just started jotting down little things like that. Think about it. You may not know how you're growing, but unless you purposefully start consciously stewarding your growing in God, you're beginning to fall. And you're not ordained to fall. The reason that you could never, ever reach your highest point in God is because God himself is that. Meaning, there's no end or beginning. You and I could grow to the day we die. Just think about it. Now, you may have finished college, like Barbara was talking, and she's an attorney. It's interesting, you got two attorneys. Janet was talking, and she's an attorney. And even though both of them went to college, great schools, passed the bar, and then, boom, that confirmed the fact that they could practice law. But they've gone beyond law. They're practicing living. Because they really talk about, the culture talks about a law practice. But really it's saying that that's what they do in the field that they've chosen or God's chosen for them. But the field that God's chosen for us is to be like his son. And no particular area, even if you are a fivefold, apostle, prophet, pastor, teacher, evangelist, that's the assignment, but you make more than your assignment. See, your likeness has no boundaries if you are like the Lord. See, and as a matter of fact, what happens to many, many professional people in many different categories, sometimes they change their categories. Joaquin Molina's daddy down in Florida, Miami, had, from what I understand, if my memory serves me correct, at least 6 disciplines in medicine. See? So in other words, instead of him say, now his son, one of his sons, is director of psychiatry for the VA down there in Miami. So his area, he's a medical doctor, but he's a psychiatrist. So he focuses on that. His daddy had 5 more of those disciplines just in that field. See? But with us, our practice is being like God. You could never outgrow that. See? And you're called to cultivate living godly, and there's no ceiling. And the exhilaration that Jan said, well, let me quiet down. Well, Jan, you live in your own house and you can shout all you want. And numbers of you, where you're at, shouting God down, he loves it. They're going to do it in heaven. And they are doing it now because of the amazement of the vitality of his reality. As you grow in God, the shout doesn't just get louder. It gets more intense, see? And, I mean, let's face it, the devil hates you having a passion for God, but that's your win, is your passion. Keep it going. I was looking also at 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. And it says in verse 10, I'm reading in this case the King James Version, I like it, the be phrase in it. He says, but we beseech you, brethren. So you see who he's targeting here in this. That ye increase more and more. Now it's not really a blanket statement, but it's an encouragement in the sense that he's talking about our walk in God as a believer. And what I said earlier is there's no ceiling to it. So, but he's saying, go ahead. I'm begging you, increase more and more. So look, so you don't age out in the things of God. See? And with God, the Holy Spirit not only gives you seasons, but he also is the one who gives you your season. Meaning, the quality of life that you're living can still increase. And the quality of life that you give, there's no ceiling on it. You keep growing. Don't let age and what is said about the chronology be the thing that stops you from growing. You know, I talk to people in many different religions, and you may have heard me say this before, but one of the great hindrances of growing is being spiritually acculturated. Now, Baptist, Presbyterian, Episcopal, Pentecostal, prophetic, you understand? And there's some people, they're ingratiated, and they may not know it, that they are Pentecostal. But, so they don't necessarily, if you ask them what God is doing, their statement is always in the realm of their Pentecostal experience. And they don't see what God is doing with Presbyterians. They don't have to be Presbyterians to know God is moving there. One of the things that I included in my Journey with God, the book that I've written, is a history of great things that God was doing through a multicultural people, but also in different denominations. I didn't make a point of it, but it's in there. Because where you can see God, it doesn't matter what you call the area that you're functioning. What matters is if God is in it. You got to be able to see God where he is. And his limitations may not be yours. So get out of that. It's this thing that women buying into, that they have to prove themselves as being just as good as a man, or needing just the same amount of money. Money doesn't determine your value. Man has a history of devaluing people, not God. I've made the point, the same God that said, let us make man, also said it's not good that man should be alone, but he created a help suitable for him. The point I make out of that is women were created to be on the resource side. So while a mother may tell a woman, marry yourself a good man who will take care of you, well, the capstone to the creation itself was God creating a woman. See? She was a helpmate for him. Yeah. So if you want to talk about the money maker in the Proverbs woman in chapter 31 of Proverbs, that's a woman. She was the one that was doing business on an international scale. See? Yes, her husband was a leader in the gate in the city, but she brought in the bacon. I can say it that way. Come on, get with me. I just feel like God always want to just shake us and let us know what he's doing. So I want to go back to the women for a minute. Stop trying to prove yourself as being valuable in light of how much you're getting paid. I heard Sha'Carri Richardson state as one of her goals, and she won the 100-yard dash, and she's going to the Olympics in Paris. I feel really bad in the sense that I can see her transitioning. I see her talking about the Lord more when she wins, and boy, I mean, she's tattooed up. She got her nails on. They're just incredible, nails with all kinds of flash to them. That's all right. Her heart seems to be changing. But the goal of giving women more pay, the goal should be changing the hearts of the men who devalue them. Now, those guys are looking at numbers, and what I mean numbers is how many people do look at track because of her skill, how many people come to listen to the basketball. Like, for example, this girl, Caitlin Clark, that plays basketball. I mean, a lot of sisters are criticizing her. They try to take her down, make her look bad. They don't like her getting all that attention. But the way these other guys describe that is, wow, look at now, you've gone from flying public airplanes to flying private jets. She brought that money. They say the same thing about Tiger Woods in golf, Michael Jordan in basketball. But that money doesn't put more value on you. In other words, money is just a tool. And that is something you're not even going to take with you. Let me tell you what money is. Money is gold, tried in the fire. Your trials and your learning from your trial is a gold standard. God said it so. Why? Because what you become through that trial, you take with you. Unless your response is ungodliness, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. See, God is the judge of all.